Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Hanging Out with Nolan Hogg. And joining us this week on the podcast is the very lovely and talented, multi-talented artist. You can hear her music all over the radio. You can see her performing live. You can also see her working in the farms out in Waianae and running businesses and everything. She's just got her hands in everything. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about all of that. I'm excited to have her on here. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Chardonnay. What's up, Chardonnay?
How's it?
Oh, you are by far the most popular guest because that's the first time I've ever heard anyone cheer for our
Amazing. Yeah, we have thousands of people tuning in right now.
I've been trying to figure out how to use that sound bar for the last 2 months, and this is the first time it's worked. So,
oh my gosh, thank you.
Get
I'm
the benefit
honored.
of that.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me. So for those who don't know, me and Chardonnay actually just recently met in person. We got to kind of cross paths while she was guest hosting on Living 808 on KHON's morning show. And but we had heard about each other through mutual friends. In fact, friend of the show and former guest Danny, and and it was almost like when we first saw each other, it's almost like, hey, old friend, even though we've never met each other. But it was so fun getting to play with you. We had some fun segments where you played some games with us and stuff.
Yeah, and I won. It was amazing.
So that's what I wanted to get to, is that Danny kept telling me, if you ever have Chardonnay play any games, just know that she'll always win. And I was like, oh, okay, sure.
Funny.
And then sure enough, like, you totally dominated that. And the whole time my wife, Jamie's watching, she's like, why is she so good at that? What is going on here? She's a machine. Where do you get this? Where do you get this from? And is it true that all you do is, like T-Pain says, all you do is win?
Oh, just win, no matter what. I don't know. Oh, I think I am a bit competitive. Yeah. But I don't know. I just I always try to focus on just having a good time. And I figure, like, if I'm having a good time, then I win. It's whatever. But I don't know. I guess I have a really good focus, and I have a background in business. So I guess I like to execute, but yeah, I'm always just about having fun. It's so funny that Danny says that, because another thing that always happens is I'm always the first one to, like, figure something out. Like, one time she had us do this challenge where she was like, the challenge is you have to draw your partner. So she paired us up, and I'm sitting there drawing my person, and she's like, but you have to use these markers, and she gave us a pack of markers. Didn't pay attention. I'm drawing, and I'm like, and I thought the person I was drawing farted. I was like, something stinks. And then I realized I smelt the marker, and Danny had pranked us. She gave us, like, stinky, smelly markers to use. And I was the first person. So it's like, sometimes it's a blessing and sometimes it's a curse, because I'll be the first person to realize something's up. And I'm just like, but it's always good fun.
Dang, I don't know. With friends like that, I don't know if you want to trust in doing any more kind of things like that. No,
I'm always
it's always fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, were you also, like, before you even got into business and stuff, were, like, you very competitive? Were you involved in a lot of, like, competitions or sports or school and stuff like that?
Well, I love school. Honestly, like, I don't think I always was a winner. Like, to this day, I only have, like, one trophy for, like, a third place. Yeah, like a third place singing competition. Brown bags to start on. I had a third place trophy, but that's it. Like, I was never, even I did sports, but I never got any trophies. I never anything like that. So yeah, it's kind of funny. I don't know why. Maybe, like, all my blessings are coming in my adulthood. Yeah.
You're winning when it counts now. Back then it's like nothing, but now it's like
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I prayed hard for all these blessings. So yes.
So I know you probably get this question a lot, but Chardonnay, is this your government name, or is this your performance name? It's my
real name. Born with that name. Yeah. So actually,
what's the background behind that?
My parents, my dad is a chef. And then my parents named all of my siblings after alcoholic beverages. So I'm the firstborn, so Chardonnay, and then my younger brother is Chevis. And then, like, Chevis Regal, and then my baby brother is Chaser. So he's the chaser after the The alcohol, yeah. So
Yeah.
we all have CH. Our names start with CH, and we're all like
Ah.
themed after alcoholic beverages. So my dad likes to make this sick joke that that's the drink that they were drinking when I was conceived, and that is a story that I grew up hearing that. And I'm just like, Dad, ew. But but I love my name so much. It's such a good conversation starter, and I think for in business and in the music industry, it just works out so well because it's such a cool, powerful
Yeah.
name. It's unique, and everybody wants to know, like, is that your
And
real name?
it's so beautiful too. It like even if you just hear your voice when you're singing and then they say your name, it's like, oh yeah, like they go hand in hand. Like they just flow
Oh,
together, like your beautiful
like
voice,
wine,
beautiful
fine
name.
wine.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
even when I imagine seeing the font that is used, it's like very flowy and elegant.
Yeah.
And then I see and like, oh yes. So so
Thank
elegant.
you. Thank you.
So I know that you, when I met you, you said that your wife was a cook or a chef,
Mhm.
and you guys have a food truck. So knowing now that your dad was a chef, is that kind of like just something in that's in your blood? It's like, oh, I'm just attracted to this tribe, like
I
people,
guess
food, prepare. Yeah.
so. Like I love food first of all, and then so my dad is a chef, and then my grandmother also, she cooks, and she's the type of lady that she cooks to feed an army. Like even if
Oh
there's just
wow.
like a few of us, yeah. Just raised to value nourishment in that way, and then also being a farmer, you know, the whole farm to table process.
Hmm.
But I never realized it, but after the fact I was like, wow, it's a thing. But I have to tell you, I don't know if you heard that day, but I can't cook like at all
Oh no
because
way.
yeah, because my dad cooked and my grandmother cooked, I never had to cook. But I was always the kitchen cleanup crew or
Yeah.
dishwasher or maybe help prep things. But before I met my wife, I was completely oblivious to the food making process. So when I met her, she of course taught me so that I could help her run the business. But yeah, I've just really learned to value that skill and that art, you know, culinary arts, because especially during the pandemic, like
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that I would make cereal and sandwiches all day if I had to, you know, or I would like go out and spend money to buy food. So having a partner who can make something out of what to me seems like nothing, you know, she goes in the pantry and I don't know how the Kahlua fried rice comes out, you know, like um yeah, I'm super grateful for that. And you know, like as a woman too, I used to think, gosh, like I can't cook, and you know, if I have kids, like how am I gonna feed them? That's gonna be kind of wild. I'm gonna have to learn how to cook someday. But I've always been so focused on school and my career that cooking just wasn't anything I was interested in. So now I'm just so grateful that I'm with someone who I'll never
Yeah.
have to worry about going hungry. And I'm like, I'm set. I'm like, my kids are going to be good. My kids are going to learn how to cook at a young age.
Well, my wife didn't know how to cook, and she had kids, and it took a little bit of time, but I eventually got into cooking. So now we don't eat
Good.
now we don't eat fast food every night, maybe every
Right.
other night.
Right, right. That's good. It's an art
But
form that I feel like is um kind of getting lost, especially now with
oh
especially in
yeah.
Hawaii. There's so much food available, and we got like Uber Eats and
Hmm.
every there's even like programs now where they can send you ingredients and the, you know, the recipes, and you cook
Yep.
at home. And I'm just like, wow, that's so wild. Like nobody knows how to cook anymore.
I just literally did that last week from
Really?
Foodland Farms. They have these kits, and so all the
Mm.
ingredients are there, and then you just follow the recipe and make it in 10-15 minutes.
How did it
And
turn out?
it was awesome. They loved it, and it
Good.
was easy for me. So I was like, and then I feel like, hey, I made something, but really all I did
Yes.
was just like they cut it all already and I just pour it in the pan and pressed off the stove to turn on, and now I'm a cook.
No, it's good. It's encouraging people to learn how to cook. So thank goodness we have that as an option.
But your grandma and your dad never were like trying to encourage you to learn the trade. I mean, it just seems like I would imagine that they'd be like, "Hey, you gotta learn, at least how to carry on the tradition of dad's famous fried rice or something like that." They never
Yeah,
did
you
that.
know, not really. Like my grandma tried to teach me a few times how to make gandule rice because that was like my favorite. But I think she could just tell that I was so not into it. Like I'd be like sitting there like, this is so boring. Like I know it's bad, but like cooking is boring to me. So
oh no.
I think, yeah, I don't know what it is, but I'm just like standing over a fire and watching something sounds really boring. So I think she could tell that I wasn't into it. So she didn't want to waste her time. And then my dad's actually an educator with culinary. So he works at he would work part-time at like Grosvenor Culinary School and teach people. So I think because that was his day job, he was like, I don't want to come home and teach some more. So I got lucky. I could kind of like weasel out of having to learn. But now my wife, she's like, you have to learn these things. And I'm like, okay. So I try, I make some effort, but
is it a disaster so far? Like, are you the type that, so my wife, she says she doesn't know how to cook, and then she like legit doesn't know how to cook, where she'll burn like the most basic stuff. But then there's people who's just like, I don't know how to cook, but I at least have, you know, the instincts to not totally screw up something easy, like an egg or something. But
no, I screw it up bad.
Okay.
Like, so I went to my best friend's house and I was like, oh, I'm going to make some grilled cheese. Like, how did I burn 4 grilled cheese? Snap. Yeah, I burned them all. And then just the other night, my wife was like, oh, let's have some steaks on the grill. And I was like, oh, I really want Brussels sprouts. And she's like, you want Brussels sprouts? You cook it yourself. And I was like, oh, that sounds terrible. And she's like, it's super easy. I'm like, oh, okay. So I cut the Brussels sprouts in half, seasoned them up a little bit because she showed me what to put on there. I threw them on the grill. They were charred. Like, they were charred. I don't even know, like 1 minute they were like still green. And then like right after that, it was black. And she's like, what did you do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just don't know. I'm impatient, I think. So I just like leave it there and I'm just like watching it, but I'm not really tuning into like when it's time to take it off. Yeah. So I'm terrible with cooking. I'm so bad. Baking, got it. Cause I could follow instructions, like no problem.
But cooking, you know? There's instructions too, right?
I think it's more.
There's a difference.
Yeah, like, so for cooking, my wife will be like, oh, add a little bit of this and a pinch of this and a dash of that. And then she'll, you know, like, oh, put the fire on high. And I'm like, so like, you know, there's numbers on the dial. I'm like, so you want it on like 6 or like 7, you know? And she'll be like, high, put it on high. And I'm like, I don't know what that you know, and like, just the terminology and just there's like, I feel like chefs are more just kind of a throw it together type of thing. Yeah. But yeah, baking, like I read the box and I'm like, okay, 3 eggs, you know, and I could put it in the oven, forget about it, have an alarm, you know. So baking, I'm cool. And it's funny because my wife hates baking because of that exact reason. Like she meshes it up.
There's no artistry for her. Yeah.
You're right. Because she'll be like, I feel like I want to put another egg in there. And that totally messes up the whole thing. She's like, I feel like I want a little bit more oil, you know? And then it's falling apart. So it's really funny. Like, yeah, she doesn't want to follow instructions.
So how did you two guys meet?
That's a fun story. Actually, my first single that I released called Stranger, I wrote about when I first met Shan. So I was performing at Mai Tais in Ala Moana, and I was on stage, and then I had some friends come to the show, and I saw them come in with another friend that I hadn't met before, and I saw her and I was just like, who is that? Like, as soon as she walked through
on the mic? No, just kidding.
Well, I was serious. I didn't like say it out loud, but
who was
no,
that?
Really. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, who is that? You know? So I saw them go sit down and hang out, and I'm singing, and in my head the whole time I was just like, I can't wait till this set is done so I can get off stage and I'm gonna walk right up to that girl and introduce myself and find out who she is. And that's exactly what I did. Like, got off stage, walked up to her, and I was like, hi, my name's Chardonnay, what's your name? You know? And she's like, oh, hey, my name's Shan. And I was just like, what are you doing here? Like, I just couldn't wait to ask her all these questions, like, who are you? What are you about? What's your life story? Like, I couldn't wait. Yeah, and then from there we became good friends, and I fell in love so fast. And we ended up dating for what was it, like maybe 4 or 5 years, and then we got married.
Long time.
Yeah. So we met in like 2013, I believe, and then we got married in 2019.
Oh wow!
I think that's about right. Yeah, was it 2015 we met? I think it was 2015 we met. Sorry, met in 2015, got married in 2019. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not good
yeah.
at math either, so I was just like, yeah, sure, sounds good to
Yeah,
me.
I always get it mixed up because in I know I met Shan when I got my master's degree, but I know that I got my bachelor's in 2013. So I always try to base it off of what degree I got when I met her. So yeah, 2015, I was just about to graduate with my master's, and I had met her, and I learned about her owning her own business, and that was just so cool to me, because I was going to school for my business degree, and I was just like, wow, maybe I could apply what I'm learning to this real life experience. And um, after dating her for a bit, I actually quit my 9 to 5 job, finished up my degree, and focused on helping to run the business.
Oh, well, and then that's what you've been doing since then?
Yep, yep. So we did that, and I was pursuing music that whole time, gigging here and there. But I was actually in a girl group before, from about, I think that one was 2013 till about 2015. I was in a girl group, and I learned about the industry. I learned about how to perform. And then after meeting Shan, she changed my whole perspective. You know, she showed me like use your degree and help me work on my business, and we can focus on your
Mm.
music. You want to go solo, you want to do your own thing, we can do that. So all at once, it was like I completely flipped my whole life around, left the girl group, quit my job, got my degree, and then was just like boom, food truck and music.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And um yeah, I guess my career, we've been doing really good, and this past year my music really started to pop off, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and congratulations, well deserved.
Thank
Um,
you.
so yeah, if you wouldn't mind taking me through your musical journey, then,
Hmm.
because that's like, I think everybody has such a unique story with how music finds them and how they follow music to through their path. So
Hmm.
I mean, I know you said that you did brown bags to stardom and stuff,
Hmm.
but how
Hmm.
did you even first start to discover music? Like, was it from small kid time and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah, from as far back as I could remember, I've always loved music. um it was something that I felt like was always a part of me from like as soon as I had like a conscious brain. Like I just
Yeah.
loved, I loved music, was always attracted to how it made me feel and how it made all the adults feel when we would hear like a good jam, and seeing all the adults just having a good time. And my grandma also loved music, so she would play ukulele. I would wake up to her singing and playing ukulele. My mom loved singing like karaoke, so that's kind of where I grew up learning to sing, was just singing karaoke with my mom. And then in school, they'd have electives, and I always chose like choir, or
Hmm.
like if I did theater, I would sing in theater too. And then I went to private school, so we had church, so I would always sing in church. So I just
Yeah.
always tried to find music in whatever I did. But
What kind of
then,
music did your family kind of raise you up on? Like, your mom was sing
mm,
karaoke. Like, what kind of music did she like to
oh
sing?
gosh, all kinds. Because I had so my grandma likes Hawaiian music.
Hmm.
She's a Hawaiian lady, so Hawaiian music. My mom, she is like an 80s music lover. Like that is her era, is 80s. So definitely influenced that. Her favorite band was Kiss. I remember she was like super into
Oh,
like
wow.
yeah, she was
Like,
into that. Or like her karaoke song was "What's Up" by Four Non Blondes. Hey, yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. So all of that kind of music. And then I had an auntie that worked at Tower Records. So she would come home with just whatever the new hotness was at Tower
Yeah.
Records. So I would like flip through her CD album and listen to everything. Like I just absorbed all the different genres from everyone. Because then my other grandma loved Tina Turner. And then, I had an uncle that was super into like bluegrass country music. So I just kind of,
Wow.
yeah, I would just try to like take it all in because I love music so much. I tried to just enjoy all types of music. Um, yeah, so I just kind of threw myself into it, and I would listen to. I remember I had a cassette player, and I would listen to like Whitney Houston, and I would
Hmm.
try to copy and mimic her and like all her runs. And I'm like 6 years old. Like I remember, and I'm over there
Wow.
trying to, yeah, I'm like, Jesus loves me, yes, I know, for the Bible tells me so. Like I remember vividly, like being like, I'm gonna sound just like her. So I did that, but I was really focused on school. My dad always wanted me to focus on getting my college education, in business specifically. He was very he kind of guided me into that direction.
Why
I wanted to.
business?
I don't know. I think I agree with him. Like now that I have finished my degree, but I think he saw that a business degree could be applied anywhere. You know, so he's like, you
Yeah.
don't really know what you want to do yet, but if you get a business degree, no matter where you go, you're going to be able to use what you learned.
Yeah.
Versus because I think I was trying to go for like counseling and psychology and
Oh.
therapy because I love helping people. So I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And my dad was like, I'm not too sure. Like, that's pretty specific. And you got to get like these licenses in order to help people. And, you know, it could get draining on your mental health. And I thought that was such an
Yeah.
interesting like insight from my dad, even like years ago. Right. So he was like, he kind of told me, because my dad helped me pay for college, and he was like, I'm not helping you pay for it unless you do business. So he didn't really give me a choice.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, dad. But I'm really glad he did, because I learned so much. And he's right. Like now I can use my degree in all the aspects, right, of my
And you
life.
help people, which was what you originally wanted to do, right?
Exactly. So I focused on school. And then after I got my bachelor's degree, this is how I got into like doing this professionally. So I got my bachelor's degree in business, and I was like, okay, time to get a job, you know? So I'm applying all over the place. And I kept getting turned down. Everybody was like, no, you need real world experience, and you're just a student and you have a piece of paper. And I'm like, this is the most expensive piece of paper I own. Like, hello, give me a job. Nobody wants to give me a job. So I remember I went to the karaoke bar, and I was like, I'm just going to go sing to kind of let out that energy of being not getting a job. I felt like a loser. So
Which one? Which bar did you go to?
You know, I don't remember what it was called. I was trying to
Oh
remember the other day.
no.
I know.
This is such an integral part of your history.
No, but it was about, I had never been there before. And I went
really?
I went with some friends, and it was like Kalihi area.
Okay.
And yeah, but I don't think it's there anymore too, because I tried looking for it. I'll find out. But yeah, so I went to this karaoke bar. Never been there before, but I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sing. And I ended up singing Adele, Someone Like You. I remember I was singing that song. And after I finished singing it, this girl who worked at the bar came up to me and was like, hey, there's this guy trying to put together a girl group, and would you like to come with me to check it out? And I was like, okay, you know, I don't have a job, so sure. So I
that
went.
Sounds so sketchy to me.
It is. It was. I mean,
a bar in Kalihi is like, hey, this guy is just putting together a girl group. And you're like,
I know, and like,
just follow me to the van.
No, yeah. So like, she was just like, oh, here's my number, and I'll let you know like when, right? So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I got a text, and they told me, oh, meet us at this address, and basically it led me to a studio that was so sketch. Like I had to like park in an alleyway, and I had to walk to the backside of a building and up these like creepy steps. And there was a mural of like Bob Marley. So I was like, okay, there's some kind of music here. Some kind of music here. And then I walked into this room, and the room was filled with like these people who look really important and like kind of intimidating, and I was like, what the heck? But I looked, and I realized that it was people I recognized. It was Ilona Irvine.
Oh wow.
Ilona Irvine. And I'm just like, holy moly, that's Ilona Irvine. And then I see some members of Nisha 9. And at that time, Nisha 9 was the hotness, right? So yeah. I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is like for real. Like, whoa. So I remember I brought my uke. They were like, okay, sing a song. Like it was like an audition, and I was like, shit. Oh man. So sorry, but so I went, and I was singing, and I kept messing up because I was just so nervous. But I finished it, and I remember at the end, I swore, like I was just like, oh fuck, like I said that right into the microphone, and they all looked at me like, and I was like, sorry, I'm just really nervous. And then they were like, okay, well, we'll let you know. And I was like, okay, bye. Like, and I remember I went home and I was crying, and I was cleaning my
Oh.
apartment. That's what I do when I'm stressed. I start cleaning and wiping the countertop. So I was cleaning up and crying, and I was like, I messed it up. That was the biggest opportunity of my life, and I just screwed it up. And then I remember while I was still wiping down the counter, I got a text, and it was the girl from the bar, and she was like, oh, they loved it and we'd like to see you again. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And that jump started my experience with the girl group that I was in. I was with them for about 4 years, and it was a bunch of girls that we had never met before, and we came from all different backgrounds. Polynesian, we're all Polynesian, but very different, complete strangers. And it was like, okay, you're a girl group. And we're
Oh my
just like,
gosh.
yeah, we're like, what do we do? We don't know, and the management was rather hands off in that way, but that ended up being a good thing because it really taught us to push for the things that we wanted, push for our dreams. It taught us how to communicate with musicians. And because I don't know how to read music. I was never trained in anything. I was in choir and stuff, but I didn't have like vocal lessons. I didn't have
Yeah.
any type of musicianship at all. Like when I first was singing with them, I couldn't even tell you what the different instruments were. Like I was
Wow.
just like, I like bass and guitar looked really similar to me when I first was in a so I didn't know any of that. So the years that I performed with them, it taught me a lot about that, and just how to carry a show, how to be on stage. We did a lot of gigs at Mai Tais, which is a great place to learn how to become an entertainer and performer. And then I remember after being in that group for a bit, I started to feel like, oh, I think I can do this for myself. Like I'm watching my wife, or she was still my fiance at the time, but watching her run her business, be her own boss, make all these decisions. I was like, I think I could do that for myself with music. I think I could invest in myself. And she's so sweet. Like my wife was the first one she bought me my first microphone, like my own
Oh.
microphone. Yeah. Like she would buy me equipment so that I could record myself. And she got me a laptop so that I could work on, beats and stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, I think I could do this for myself. Like if I can do this for her and support her business, I can do this for myself. So I went solo in 2018. And then I released that song Stranger, which I wrote about meeting my wife. And that caught the attention of Hawaii's Finest management. So from 2000, I think the end of 2018, going into 2019, boom, I was signed. I was signed with Hawaii's Finest and Revive the Live Media. And I've been working with them ever since.
So
And
how did they discover that song? Was it that it got kind of like through word of mouth, or were you playing it somewhere where that's how they picked it up?
I think I really pushed, and I'm super blessed that I have a lot of friends in the industry that helped me to get the word out there.
Uh,
I had made friends with people that could help to get my song played one time on the radio. um, and I remember social media. I just used social media, and because I just did everything on my own. I had to learn how to upload my song to iTunes by myself. Like it was such a stressful and confusing process, but I just remember, yeah, I just pushed really hard on social media. I was like, guys, I'm releasing a song. This is my first time ever doing this. I'm terrified, but let's go. Like, run those numbers up. And it ended up getting to, it was like number 8 on iTunes reggae charts in the US, which is unbelievable. And then it was number 3, I think, overall in New Zealand.
wow.
Yeah. And that was just I couldn't believe it, My first single ever charts in another country. I was like, what? Like it was so cool. And I
Was it
think
ever a point like where you're like, am I reading this right? Like
Oh
Is this
yeah.
yeah? Because
Like even I didn't even
can't
know
even
how to check.
imagine that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know how to check those charts. My friend told me, she was like, you know, you're like number 2 or number 3 in New Zealand, and I was like, what? And she's like, look it up, and she sent me the link, and I was like, is this real? Like, and then I see like Sammy J's on there, Bob Marley is on there. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is like a real thing.
Yeah.
Wow, you know. But yeah, I couldn't believe it. It was unreal. So I remember screenshotting it, like, and being like, I need to save this forever because nobody's gonna believe this. But I think yeah, I think just I try to, I use social media for, you know, to get the word out there, and I think it was from that they saw me kind of making a little buzz, and they knew
Mm,
that I was an independent artist, and for an independent artist with a debut song to do that well and to have that much support, I think really caught their attention. So they had asked me, this is how I met them. So they asked me if I wanted to perform at one of their concerts. They had this concert called Artist 20 for 20. You
mm-hmm.
pay $20 and you get to see 20 different local artists perform. And it was like this huge thing at Hawaiian Brian's, and it had like, there was like 4 stages, and you could just go all night, $20, and you get 20 different performances. And I got to be put on that show, and that was my very first show on my own where I had to put together a band, like a full band for myself.
Oh
So I
wow.
called up friends that I had made, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I need to put together a band. And they came, they helped me. We performed my song, and yeah, from there, Hawaii's Finest manager contacted me and asked if I wanted to discuss working with them. And that was a really cool process, you know, using my business degree and reading through
Mm-hmm.
contracts and making some edits and being like, if we can change this, I'll think about it. You know, just because I didn't want to get tied down to anything, especially so early on in my career, and
Yeah.
especially knowing that I could do so well for myself on my own. I was like, you know, I'm not going to sign anything unless I know that this is going to be beneficial.
Yeah.
And you know, as I needed there to be trust, and I wanted to know that if things hit the fan, I could get out. Like that's like one of the most important things to me, and like, I want to be able to get out. But they were lovely to work with. Yeah, and I still work with them now, so things are good.
Awesome.
And even now, like, technically my affiliation with them, I my contract is done, but I still
Mm-hmm.
work with them, which I think is great, because now I have the best of both worlds. I can do, you know, whatever I want, but still have their support, and that really proved to me
Yeah.
that they care more about just supporting me as an artist versus trying to like tie me down to anything crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love working with them. I get all kinds of fresh gear. I get to wear the nicest stuff, you know. I get to their network is crazy. I got to work with legends, people that I looked up to, because they were able to connect me with those people. So
That's so cool.
yeah, it's the best. So that's where I'm at now, just making
Yeah.
music.
Man, after watching all of those VH1 behind the music specials, like I'm so relieved to finally hear a good story about an artist that, from the beginning wasn't screwed over or tied to
Yes.
this like crazy contract and stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah.
good on you for that.
Thank you. Yeah.
So for that audition, that first one that you felt like you did so poorly, do you remember what song it was that you performed?
It was that same song,
Oh,
Adele.
that Adele one?
Yeah, the what did I say it was? Never mind, I'll
Yeah.
find someone like you. Yeah,
Yeah,
someone
something.
like you. Yeah.
So what was it that was screwing up? Was it that you were screwing up the guitar or ukulele, or was it like you forgot the words? Like how did you
It
screw
was
up in your mind?
ukulele. Like
Oh.
because I don't even know how to play, right? So I was just like, I
what?
was making it up.
What?
Yeah, I was
How come
making
you
it
couldn't
up.
just bring like a karaoke track or something?
I don't know. Maybe I'm the overachiever and I wanted to like
Okay.
prove that. So I just yeah, I didn't even know if that was like an option to like sing karaoke. I was just like, whatever, I'll just kind of make this up. So I remember, I don't even know if it was the right chords. I just made up some random chords and was playing. And I mean, it sounded all right. And I still play that song the same way today. So I
No
think it's like,
way.
yeah. But yeah, it's just like having to play and sing at the same time, coming from
Yeah.
a person who like never did that. It was so funny. Like,
Especially in a room full of those kind of intimidating faces.
right,
I'm
right. And
sure
it's like,
that had to
I'm
throw
like,
it all off.
they must know I'm a fraud. Like, I'm like, they know
Yeah.
it.
Well, speaking of fraud, so I can only relate in the sense of that I just know my own personal, like very amateur experiences. So I'm curious, you mentioned how like you never got like professionally trained and stuff, and you pretty much taught yourself through learning through what other artists did and stuff.
Hmm,
And that's
hmm.
kind of similar to what I can relate to in the sense that anytime I've ever like I way back when I had like these aspirations of being a singer, and then I actually realized that I don't have any future in it. But at the time, I was similar, like, dude, I didn't know how to read music, didn't take any lessons and stuff, but I would just mimic, Boyz II
Hmm,
Men or whatever that I liked. And I
hmm.
to this day now I realize like all I ever was just like an impersonator. Like I just, tried to copy it. But what I love about when I study artists perform is like just how I can tell that they've put themselves, their spirit, their soul into the music, and that it's like there's this connection where what you hear in the words and the lyrics and the music and the rhythms and how they do their runs and stuff, it's like I can feel that ride that they're taking me on. And that's how I feel when I listen to your music. So how did you transition from, you know, just kind of mimicking what you heard to being able to understand and make that connection with music to where you're at now, where it's like you're what I consider the true sense of what an artist is, where you just create.
Wow, thank you. That is a huge compliment. I really appreciate that. Um, I think through when I was gigging, when I was in the girl group, we did a lot of covers. We didn't have too many original songs out. And I remember, like that feeling you get when you're singing a song so well, but it's not my song, like I'm
Mm.
singing, and it's great that I can sing this cover and do it really well, but I was like, I want that feeling I get when I hear a song that I connect to so well. And it's like, Rihanna wrote this, or Beyonce wrote this, and I love it,
Yeah.
or Nicki Minaj wrote this, and I love it. And I think, yeah, just that experience of doing a lot of covers, and I wanted to like put the stamp on my name that I am a true artist, and not just a cover artist. And there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that, because like everybody, I mean, my song that made me super popular is a cover song from Adele. So um yeah, but I wanted that. And then also just expressing myself. I have always been kind of writing music,
Mm.
but I would write like silly things, like for my wife I'll do jingles. Like I'd be like, I'm ready, steady, ready to sell the pateles. Yeah, I'm ready, steady, or like Panadi or Kapakahi grinds. Got them fire Panadijas. Call me Panadija Princess. Like I would just come up with really silly stuff to help promote selling the food. And then it's funny because then I would see people singing it, like little babies would be like Panadija, Panadija, and they would send me videos, and my wife looked at me and she's like, whoa, like these little jingles that you're making are kind of going far. And so she was like, you should try writing your own music. And I was like, yeah, I know, I want to. And yeah, so I kind of just, it was a goal I had set for myself to focus on that.
Wow.
And then with that comes, it takes a lot of confidence
Yeah.
to put yourself out there. And I think as I got older, I really wanted to make sure that I was putting my true self into my music. Like, of course, I'm
Mm.
telling a story. Like singers, we're storytellers. So we might be telling our own story, might be telling somebody else's story. But for my original music, I'm really proud of the person that I am, the woman that I am, the well-roundedness of my lifestyle. Where it's like farm to table. I care about people. I care about the land. I care about people's hearts, and I care about them
Mm.
having a good time and feeling good. So I just was like, I'm just going to put all that into my music. Like whatever
Yeah.
I'm going through, I'm just going to put it out there and see what happens. And so that's why with my debut album, I have 5 songs on there, and all 5 are original songs that I wrote, which is just like so cool. I love it. And it feels even better that I put that out there, and a couple of them hit on the radio, and a couple of them, like, I hear people say it's their favorite song, and it just helps to reassure me that I'm doing a good job, you know, and I hear people connecting to my music. That's my favorite. That's what keeps me going, is hearing people say, oh, when I heard this song, it made me feel this, and I love this song because I went through the same thing. Like, that's the best. It helps me connect with people. And like you said, helping people, right? So yeah, it feels like I'm really living out my life's purpose by working on music.
Have you ever experienced somebody misinterpreting a song where they go like, oh, I connected so much with this, I know exactly what you're talking about, and they say that, and you're like, that's not quite what I was trying to convey there?
No, actually, I've been really lucky. Everybody catches on, and I think
good.
Like with my music too, I like to use a lot of metaphors, and I like to make people think, because I'm a big Nicki Minaj fan, and she, you know, with her rap lyrics, she likes to use triple entendres and metaphors, and she really makes you think. So I try to write like that, so it's even better because people are coming to me and they're figuring things out in my song. And I'm just like, oh, I'm like, well, you guys are reading into that a lot better than I thought you would. Yeah, so everybody's been pretty spot on. It's pretty cool.
Have you ever experienced, like, you know, when you're performing, that somebody in the crowd, you catch them like crying from, and I only ask this because back when I was younger, I remember watching, you know, footage of Michael Jackson performing, and there's like these white girls in the front, like sobbing, and I was like, that's so stupid. How can somebody be so emotional about Michael Jackson? And then now, as an adult, I'm like, I'll listen to, I'm like, oh, so I was like, so then I thought back to that. I was like, how cool must that feel to know that your songs and your music is connected so deeply to someone that it would drive them to tears? So have you ever had that experience, and if so, like, what is it like for you? That's the most fascinating thing I think I've ever, you know, seen when it comes to music. Just like, because I think there's no deeper connection than that. Like, that's the proof that they get it, right?
Yeah, that exactly that, the deeper connection, you can feel it. Like, not just, so when I sing Easy on Me, when I do that song, and another song I sing is HOWNH, which is a love song from the perspective of a woman to another woman. So those 2 songs, I notice when I sing those, it gets people in their feels. And honestly, me too. Like, I have to hold myself back from getting choked up on stage, because it's not just the audience that is experiencing it. Like, I can feel it when I'm on stage. I can feel, you know, like people are putting their hands up, or people, you see some people kind of going like this, but it's really like an energy thing where you can feel like it's like tingles. It's kind of insane, like that feeling. Yeah. And once I feel that, and I know, it's like, I get chicken skin. I'm getting chicken skin right now thinking about it. But you get that feeling, and yep, I have to try to remind myself, like, okay, like, don't get too choked up. But it's happened, especially shows that are like a monumental show in my career. Like when I had my album release party. Oh man, like that one, you know, I worked so hard for a very long time, and it took a lot of effort from a lot of people around me. And so to be sharing that moment, that one night where I dropped my most, you know, my biggest piece of work, and we're all there together to experience that moment, it feels so unreal. It feels good. But yeah, it goes both ways. Like, I get emotional too, and it's kind of weird, because it's like, oh, you're crying about yourself singing, you're full of yourself. It's not even that. It's just like, I think it turns in, it's spiritual, right? Like, sometimes I'll be singing and it's coming from so deep within my spirit or my heart that it's not even about me anymore. Like, it's about everybody else and all of us together in this room experiencing this moment. And that's another thing that really helps with confidence too, is when you think about performing, not so much as like, oh my gosh, am I gonna mess up, or oh, I'm gonna, not hit this note or whatever. I try to tell myself like, hey man, these people are here and they just want to feel something. They just want to have an experience with you. So I try to keep that in my mind. Like, it's like, everything's gonna be okay. Even if there is a mess up, we're having this experience together, So we just find ways to connect and turn it around. And in between songs, I'm very, like, I talk stories, so it's a full experience. Like, I'll tell them what happened on the farm that day, or I'll tell, like, I'll share a story of like why I wrote this song, and I like to make them laugh. So it's like I'm like making them cry, and then I make them laugh, and then I like, we have these special moments. But it's the best job in the world. I love what I do. I love it.
That is the best kind of experience I can imagine, just to be able to tap to all those different emotions, but through connecting in so many different ways. It's not just singing, it's through your conversations with the audience, and it's not just through emotional things. There's happy things. Like, it's so neat how you have taken it upon yourself to just find all the different ways to connect with people. And I think that just goes back to your desire to wanting to help people. And I think the reason why you want to help people is you have a genuine desire to connect with people. It's really, really interesting.
Thanks.
For your music, is there anything that you feel like, I know that, I mean, you still got a long career ahead of you, but are there things that you're just like, okay, this is the next thing that I want to tackle, whether it's as basic as I want to start, like, I don't know, throwing in some bluegrass country or something, like, I want to get more rap in there or something. Is there something where you're like, oh, this is my next thing that I feel like would open the next chapter of my story in music?
Totally. So dropping that album was a big thing for me. That was like one of my biggest goals was, okay, I want original music and I want a full, like collection of songs.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. Like, the fact that I did that, I'm just like, oh, thank God. What's next?
Yeah.
And for what's next, I think I have so many goals. One of them being, I want to travel and perform for sure. I want to be able to take my musicians in my band, they're also my very good friends. And that's super important to me too, is who I surround myself with. So being in Chardonnay's band, I have some high standards, but it's all in, for looking out for our best interests. I care about all of us being safe. I care about all of us having a true bond, because, we're out in these situations. Like, our place of work is the party spot, there's alcohol, there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So it's really important to me that I have good people around me that will take care of me. I'll take care of them. And that bond is really cool, because then on stage, if one of us does mess up, we're not afraid. Like, we have each other's back. So like with finding this really awesome group of friends, I want to take them on journeys with me. I want to take them traveling. I want to go to Tahiti. I want to go to New Zealand. I want to do all these reggae concerts with them. And I want to just open those opportunities for all of us. I also really want to open more doors for female entertainers. I have noticed a trend where, like, these mainstream reggae concert lineups are just like all men. Just all men. And even with their musicians, it's majority men. And you have like our iconic queens that, we see them in there playing keyboard or playing bass, and they get to feature on a song or so. But I'm talking about like lead female artists. And so that's why another thing that I like to do is, whenever I get the opportunity to perform on a big stage like that, I take as many female musicians as I can. Like, all girls if I can, because I'm like, we're gonna make up for the fact that there are no women on here. I'm gonna bring them on with me. And that's been really fun. I love the feedback that I'm getting for doing that. And then, of course, working and collaborating with artists who influence me a lot. One of my biggest goals right now is to try to get a song with Fiji, because he is just my icon. I love that guy. So I want to have a song with him. And
I'm
I want to
shocked
have
that
a,
you haven't yet. I would have thought, like, I mean, he's been so generous
he is.
with his time and skills, and it's like every smash hit always I can hear Fiji in the background
Oh
somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah, so
You want a hit song? Just get
yeah,
Fiji on the feature.
yeah. Fiji dog on that.
Yeah, well, I think that's something that my competitive side, I
Mm.
want to push it a little further. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
want
yeah.
to approach Fiji with a song where I'm just like, "Hey, can you just like say well on here and give me a hit?" Like,
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
have a true collaboration with Fiji.
Oh, that'd be
So
awesome.
it's really me that's holding, because he knows it. I make it so obvious that I want to work with him. Like, he sees me talking about him in every interview, and
Fiji, if you're listening, you know this is the
yeah,
part.
yeah. We're here again. Hi,
Yeah.
because he's DM'd me and has told me like, yeah, let me know. But it's me, like, I'm waiting for the right song to come out of me,
That's
so
awesome.
that I can approach
Yeah.
him with the right song. And I really want to work with him on it, like actually sit in the studio. I did have the opportunity to work with him a couple of times already. He co-wrote a song that I featured on with an artist named Nomad. So I was able to sit in a studio session with Fiji and Nomad, and I got a lot of amazing tips from Fiji. If you can imagine, I was just like sitting there, just like soaking in. I was like, oh, anything you say, I will do. I listen to whatever, like. And he was teaching me breathing exercises. He was teaching me about confidence, and
Wow.
he's wonderful. And another time I got to work with him, he had me sing background vocals for him at Polyfest at Waikiki Shell.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, talk about an out of body experience. Like, I was the only female on stage with him, and I remember I wore this bright yellow jacket. I still have it. It's like going in the Chardonnay museum of outfits, but I wore this bright yellow jacket because I knew, I was like, I want to stand out on stage because I want to be with Fiji. I want everybody to see that I'm standing on stage. And it was intense and scary because we had no rehearsal. He just like gave
Oh,
me,
nah.
yeah, I was like, oh, can you let me know like what songs I need to
Oh my
learn? And
gosh.
he sent me like a list of like 40 songs. I'm like, this is your entire like this is all of
Oh.
your life work. And his set was only probably like 25 minutes. So it
So
was
was it
like,
just he was just thinking, whatever I feel like singing that night, just be ready.
exactly.
Wow, for
Exactly.
real?
Yeah. So I
Oh.
I remember like for a week I just listened to every song and I learned every harmony part that I could, like,
Dang.
high, middle, low, like I just tried to learn them all so that I could just be ready for whatever. But that experience was unreal, because you talk about seeing people like cry and have a reaction.
Yeah.
Whew, like if you can imagine, I'm standing there on stage, bright yellow jacket, the icon of my life is right there. And he even gave all of us background vocalists an opportunity to sing solo one of his
Oh,
songs.
cool.
So he shared his mic with us. This is pre-COVID, but he shared his mic with us and let us do our thing. And he introduced us to the crowd, and there were thousands of people, thousands. And I just remember seeing the energy coming off, like it was like heat
Oh,
waves coming off of
crazy.
people, and they're just screaming their heads off, and they're like halfway crawling on the stage. And I remember it felt like I was floating above the stage watching
Wow.
everything happen. It was so unreal. Like, yeah, so he's a wonderful person. Everything he stands for, I'm just like, man, that's my goal. Is I want to be the female Fiji. I want to still be doing this years from now, and I want to have the impact that he's had on our people. Like
That's awesome.
yeah, he's led the way. So that's a
Yeah.
big goal of mine, to work with him. And there's many other artists that I aspire to work with, but he's the top.
Well,
He's number one.
I'm looking forward to it, and I'm expecting it. So you let me know when it's happening, and I'll be ready.
Oh yeah.
But in sharing your description of that experience in performing, I had a question in that I recently was watching this like Netflix kind of like documentary kind of thing, and there is about Boys to Men and stuff, and there's a scene in there that was really interesting to me, and they had just come off stage. They had performed in front of, this rabid crowd, and everyone's like crying and throwing flowers and stuff. And then there's a scene where Wanye's just walking through the hallway in the back of the theater on his way to his dressing room, and is like by himself. And I was just thinking, that's got to be such a drastic,
Mm-hmm.
experience where here you are on the Shell stage, place going crazy. You can see the energy, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually there's going to be a point where it's over,
Mm-hmm.
and you're driving your car or something. Like, how do you handle the change? And is it like, for me, when I imagine, I think, oh man, that's got to be rough, like to just
Mm-hmm.
go from 100 to 0.
Mm-hmm.
But have you handled it where you're like, oh no, this actually, there's a beauty in both
Mm-hmm.
experiences, and this is why it works so well?
Mm-hmm. It's funny that that story reminded me of one time I did a show that my adrenaline was pumping so hard, and I was just giving it my all on stage. And I remember that transition when I got off stage, I started hyperventilating because
Oh wow.
I was just going bah, 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 da, 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 and then it was like boom, done. And I walked the stage and I was just like because I don't know if I was just out of shape and I couldn't catch my breath or what, but I remember I needed to take a moment. That was the first time that had happened to me. And then I realized, I'm like, whoa, I need to kind of come up with a process to take care of
Oh
myself, you know?
yeah.
And one of the things that really helps with that is um, I don't allow myself to be alone, like as soon as the show is done.
Mm,
Surrounding myself with those good friends that I play music with, we're all
yeah.
having that experience together. So when we get off stage, we're like, yeah, that was amazing. You know, like we can process everything together. And then my wife she's always right there on the side of the stage, making sure that she's ready with whatever I need. She'll like have a towel for my sweat, or she'll have like a drink in her hand, or she'll just be like, come here, give me a hug. That was amazing. You know, like, so I think having that community of people that are experiencing it with me really helps, so that we can kind of
Mm,
come off of that
yeah.
high together, because it really is it's such a high, and it can get very addictive, I think. Like
Yeah.
this, like I want to do it all the time. I want to be on stage all the time. I love doing it. It can get tiring, so I definitely, there's a balance, right? You come off of that high, you process it, and then you take time to rest. You have to take time to rest,
Yeah.
and then you just gear up for the next time. Yeah.
Which I think you have like the perfect balance of like careers, because when I imagine you coming from that high to be get your hands dirty and put in the
Yeah,
work on the farm, and it almost seems to me like it's got to be like therapeutic, like because you're
absolutely.
alone with your thoughts, but you have a focused goal, and you connect with the land and connect with the produce and the animals. Like there's
Yes.
got to be something there that it's just like, I don't know, it feels like, just imagining it sounds like real magical, if
Yeah,
if
it's a
that's if that's
great
accurate.
balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. And another thing too is, like not just coming off of the adrenaline rush and then like being alone and having time to process, but also sometimes as an entertainer, we have to sell ourselves and we have to be like out there and
Oh
confidence,
yeah.
confidence, confidence. And then sometimes I feel like I don't want to come off like a diva. Like that's something that
Hmm.
I really try to avoid. I like to keep things real as possible, as genuine as possible. So I love the fact that after I do this show where I'm looking amazing and everyone's just like, Chardonnay, oh my gosh. And then like the next day I'm like covered in pig poop. Like I get humbled real quick, like but I love that balance because it just helps
Yeah.
me to stay really grounded, really rooted in just being a humble person, and I love that. That's something my grandparents, who taught me how to work on the farm, always instilled in me, was being humble, being grateful. So it's I love that balance that I have. I'm super blessed because I can imagine like if I didn't have the farm and all I did was be this superstar and try to be a superstar all the time, like I don't know, I would get like imposter syndrome or something. Like
Yeah.
it wouldn't feel genuine, I think. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. And then I bring those parts of that pig farmer Shardy, I bring her on stage too. So I try to, have a balance where I'm connecting the world. I'm constantly just trying to connect the two worlds. It's a good time.
Yeah. Because I think when the way you described like what you don't want to be, like the first thing I think of is like how like someone like say Mariah Carey, who was like my all-time favorite, and then she went off the deep end, and I was like so sad, like what happened to you? And like
Mm-hmm.
it just, as successful as she got, it was like it was kind of sad to see, like, it's like not a realistic persona that I could relate to or even
Right,
recognize. And so
right,
for you to see that and know that and be confident in yourself to say, nope, I'm going to keep this, and not feel like you have to fill this, imaginary persona that others expect you to be. There's
right.
some real strength in that, in knowing that you can feel confident in who you are, and present that, and know that people will be like, hell yeah. That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
love it. Well, I think I'm really blessed, like being here in Hawaii, right? Like that's the type of people, that's my
Yeah.
people, is the ones who are they're just trying to keep it real. Like they
Mm-hmm.
just want to have a good time and keep it real. And yeah, like I don't know, I just feel like I try to be authentic, and social media super helped me to be able to do that, right? Like, because I can just
Mm.
post on my story, like, "Hey, I'm making a like today. My wife is we're building a chicken coop, So I'm like, "This is what we're doing today, building a chicken coop," and then I go live, and I did my makeup for this interview on live, and
Oh.
they're like, "Hey, Shardy, what are you doing today?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna do an interview, da, 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 da," And they're like, "Wow, you did fine, building a chicken coop."
Yeah.
Now I put on makeup, gonna do an interview. So, being able to share like all the process and parts, it just feels like I have a bigger support system. Like my
That's awesome.
I want my fans and supporters to know who they're supporting. Like I want them to
Yeah.
still feel connected to me. um I don't know what I would do if I ever reached that point of stardom where it's like a disconnect, because I think
Yeah.
about how I feel, my favorite artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Cardi B is a great example. I loved watching Cardi B's rise to stardom. I followed
Yeah.
her, from before she released Bodak Yellow, and then watching her release it, and now she is just this superstar. And I miss the Cardi B that we started with, who wasn't afraid to post anything. There wasn't big
Oh
contracts.
yeah.
There wasn't a lot of drama. I miss her personality. I miss her character.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to watch other artists that are on a very large scale, like how they maneuver through the system and through the industry. And
Yeah.
then I try to like pull the things that I like and learn from them so that I can try to be this person that I'm trying to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I study that a lot too, and I feel like my theory is that it's not, for some of them at least, it's not that they've gotten so big that they um, that they made the conscious effort to change themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I get the feeling that because they're so big, so many different people rely on them, that
Right.
the pressure of like, I can't misstep because it's not just only going to affect me, but it's going to affect this company and this group of
Right.
people. Da, da, da. So it's almost like
Right.
I have this responsibility to be safe and protect that. And while
Right.
it's awesome that they've reached that point of success, it's also like probably sad for them, where they're like, I bet they do miss that
Yeah.
freedom and that less
Yeah.
pressure of carrying other people with them now. Yeah.
Right, right. So that tells me the lesson in that is enjoy this right now. Like even though I have
Yeah.
these big goals and aspirations, like right now is the most fun time, the best time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, that's exactly what
Yeah.
I'm trying to do is just party on right now.
This is your foundation. So even no matter
Hmm.
how high you get, you still have that holding you
Yes.
from the beginning right there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So as far as going into your farming and stuff, you said that you grew up on the farm.
Hmm.
Um, where so can you tell me a little bit about the history? Like, was it that your grandparents owned a farm and you grew up there? Or like, how did you get your start on the farm?
Sure. So my grandfather started a farm in his adulthood. I think that I remember him sharing a story that I think even his parents were kind of into animals and farming. So Papa started a pig farm from before I was born. So I really was just kind of born into it. As far as back as I
Wow.
can remember, we've always had animals. We've had different animals. Sometimes we used to have horses, because my papa is a cowboy at heart. Like he is a true country guy. So him and my grandmother, they had horses. I remember we had geese, we had cows. We still have fish. We have like tilapia fish. Did I say goats? We had goats, all kinds of animals. But a piggery was, I think, as far as business, was the most successful livestock that my grandfather had experience with. And ever since I was young, I remember I would spend weekends on the farm. I was taught how to feed the animals. Like I called it cereal back in the day, but it's grain feed.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember my papa teaching me how much grain to feed the pigs. I used to have to wash pens. So I've been working with pig poop my whole life, washing pens. And then it was in high school that I wanted to get my first job. And that was my first job, was working on the farm. So I started to get paid for it. um, yeah. And it's now I'm like third generation. So it's my grandfather started it. His sons, my uncles, worked on it. And then now to me and my wife. My wife helps me on the farm too now.
So the two of you run the whole farm yourselves?
Yeah,
Well, I
well,
mean,
it's
yep.
myself, my wife, one of my uncles, and then we also do have like a worker who comes in and helps.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's a very large farm. We have like 600 hogs.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Dang. How do you keep track of all that? That is a
Well,
lot of pig poop.
yeah, we have it is a lot of pig poop. I get covered in it all the time, like not even joking. I have to like always clean my nails and everything. There's a funny story that I would go to gigs straight from working on the farm, and no matter how much I wash my hands, sometimes you can't get the smell of the pig
Oh
off
my
it. So
gosh.
I'd be singing with my microphone like this, and I'd be like, "Oh my gosh!" Like I could smell the farm on my hands. And I remember, like when I remember there's this Portuguese guy, Uncle Kibo. He came to my gig and he's like, "Oh, what you do, girl?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm a pig farmer." And he didn't believe me. He's like, "Not." And I was like, "Yeah, smell my hands." I told him, "Smell my hands." And then he smelled it. He goes, "Oh, you wasn't kidding." um,
That's
yeah. So
very brave of him to trust you and go and smell your hand. I would have been like, no, okay.
yeah.
You
No,
keep
I
your
believe
hands to
you.
yourself. Yeah.
Well, that guy, he's a country guy too. So
Oh,
he was like, "Let me see if she's telling the
yeah,
truth." But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and he loves retelling that story all the time. It's so funny. But yeah, so my whole life I've been trained to work on the farm, and now as an adult, I'm super grateful that I'm married to someone who is willing to take on that job with me, because it is
Yeah,
hard.
that
Yeah,
takes a
there's
special person. Yeah.
it does. And she didn't have much of a farming background herself and her family, so even more so, right? She had to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But because she's a chef and she loves food, it's kind of just like we're taking it a step back,
Yeah.
so that you can see the process. So she's a natural. She's a natural at it. So yeah,
So
we
is
run the
is
farm.
is the farm's main source of income still from I guess is it selling the hogs
Yes,
or
yes,
okay.
yeah. So it's
Yeah,
all
so that's what the
local customers, and we sell hogs every weekend. Yeah.
and are your customers mainly like they're buying them for restaurants or they're buying them to start their own farms as well?
Usually for their own consumption. However,
Okay, okay.
yeah, either way. But like we do, like kaluas for baby parties. So we have like Polynesian people. We also have a lot of Filipino customers. And yeah, that's our top market. And they come grab pigs, and they're able to feed their families or feed for restaurants, however they choose. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. This is such a fascinating side of you. We spent so much time on music, but now I'm like, holy smokes, there's so many questions I have on farming now.
Yeah. Ask away.
So as far as you have 600 of them, are they
Mhm.
all in like they just stay in one pen or is it they're just all over the property at all times? Like how do you keep track of all of them?
So my grandfather has a really good system. that guy's been doing it for years and years and years. So he's learned, I'm sure he's made a lot of mistakes, but luckily I've been blessed that I got the after of him learning how to make things run smoothly. So we have different buildings on the property, and each building houses pigs at different stages, basically, of their life. So we have a building dedicated to breeding. We have a building dedicated to when a mama is pregnant. Then we have a building dedicated to mamas giving birth. And then from there,
Wow.
like there's a different building for every stage, like when they become like little toddler pigs, or when they become teenager pigs, and then when they become market size, and then when they're prepared to be sold. So there's a different building
Oh,
for
wow.
everything. Yeah. and
Dang, it's
and
like a
within each
factory.
building, well, sort of, but I mean, it's a small family business. So
Yeah, yeah.
even though it sounds like really big and kind of intense, but when you like, if you were to get a tour around it, you'd see like, oh, okay, because yeah,
Mm,
like it's really just the three or four of us that, like, today it was just myself and my wife that ran the farm today. So it's possible. And I really like that we're local, native Hawaiian, female owned
yeah.
and operated. Like, that makes me feel good, because I think a lot of people, there's a disconnect. We're talking about like the skill of cooking. There's kind of like that disconnect of people knowing how to cook. There's also a disconnect of people understanding where their food comes from.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important for people to see local farms like how we have, because right now all they're seeing is like scary stuff on YouTube or
Hmm.
on Netflix, like just
Yeah.
the crazy, like I watch that and I'm freaked out by it, because I'm like, that is
Yeah.
not how it happens. But yeah, so that's something that I'm trying to do as well with my career, is just
Mm,
helping people to get reconnected to the source of where their food comes from, and it's
yeah.
cultural as well. um yeah, so that's one of the many goals I have. Yeah.
But the cool thing is it all ties like it's not like you have all these different goals all random, but like they all tie to back to the core of you, which
Yeah,
is connecting to the people, connecting to the land, connecting to your culture.
exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
it's beautiful.
Thank you.
So for for your wife's food truck business,
Hmm.
what's the name of it, and what do you guys serve out of that, and where are you guys located, and do you guys raise a lot of the ingredients that you serve on the farm too? Like, is there that connection there too?
Absolutely. So, my wife's business is called Kapakahi Grinds Food Truck and Catering. When we first met, we were running the food truck much more often, but then the pandemic happened and we slowed down. So actually, right now we're doing more catering than the food truck, because we do need to renovate our truck. We built out our truck ourselves, um, but she makes,
Dang, is there anything
gosh,
you guys don't do?
oh, we like, we're the
Dang.
type of people that it's like, if we need something done, like we're gonna try to do it on our own. We're gonna figure it out. It's, because we like things to be like custom, so that our process is like better. It's
Hmm.
why would I want somebody else to come and build these countertops that match the different height? Because my wife is short and I'm pretty tall, so we need things to like match
Oh.
our height difference and everything. So um we build out our own trucks. We watch a lot of YouTube, but she makes everything. And like, Shan is the type of chef that she makes it taste like, when you say like, oh, that's like how my grandma used to make it, or that's
Mm,
how mom makes it, like, that's something
yeah.
that I really was drawn to when I tasted her food. But I was like, oh my gosh, it tastes like how my grandma makes it. Like, it's she's wonderful. um some of the things she makes that she's popular for is ahikatsu, poke nachos, patelle stew, pateles. She also does like patelle fries. She does stuffed ahi crab rolls. She does spicy ahi bombs on sushi. Like, she does all kinds of stuff. But and it's really an art for her. So she'll try to make anything. Like, she's not afraid to try to make whatever. So yeah, once again, she's watching YouTube and learning how to make something from another country. Um, yeah, so a lot of
That's
a lot of
cool.
catering right now, which is cool. During the pandemic, we had to learn to adjust. Yeah, so we got into making bentos, so we could do bentos.
Mm.
We could do full blown catering where we're dressed up in our chef's coat, like hello ma'am, so we do all kinds, like the full spectrum of different types of events. And that's why she named her company Kapakahi Grind. So Kapakahi, it's a Hawaiian word.
Mm.
It kind of means crooked, mix match, any
Yeah.
kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that, she didn't want to limit herself with the name of her company. She wanted to be able to explore and make whatever. So
Yeah.
Kapakahi Grinds is what it was. So yeah.
That's awesome. And how did she get her start in the restaurant business or cooking industry?
I hear her talking about how cooking was a part of her life as far back as she could remember, like the same way
So
that
like with
music.
music with you, yeah.
Right. Yeah. She shares stories about her grandfather, her Filipino grandfather, sitting her up on a counter while he would be cooking. And she
Oh,
would be like 4 years old watching her papa make food. And then her Samoan grandma, she shares stories about how her Samoan grandma would be taking care of her, babysitting her, and would ask her. I think she said she was only like 3 or 4, asking her to make dinner.
oh,
So she said she learned how to fry fish from when she was like 4 years
dang.
old, which
Oh
is,
my gosh.
I know it's wild to think about that, but that's it. Just goes to show like why it's just magic when she's in the kitchen. It's
Yeah.
just it's she's so comfortable because from such a young age she was learning how to cook for her elders. And then she was going to school. She didn't like school very much. In fact, she got in trouble at school a lot. And she ended up going to Youth Challenge. That's where she graduated from, which is like
Oh
military
wow.
school. It
Yeah,
taught her a lot
yeah.
of discipline. And then from there, she always she loved food, but she didn't really like push to make it a like a career. She had a lot of different jobs. She worked security at the hospital. She was a wildland firefighter in Alaska.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
And she used to like they would drop them out, like in the wilderness, and then like from helicopter they'd be like, "Okay, you got to stay here. The fire's over there."
Oh my
And they
gosh.
would have to sleep out, in the wilderness, and they would have supplies dropped from the helicopter, and Shan would be the one to cook for everybody. She would like take the MREs and turn it into something delicious for all the guys out there. And she was the
Dang.
only female in her hui that was out there too. So she did that for a bit. And then she was an MMA fighter. She was
For
like,
real?
for real. She was like a professional MMA fighter. So she has a lot of hustle. Like, and she also worked construction. Like, she did a lot of different stuff. But she
Dang.
she hustles hard. She works hard, and she always was pushed to work hard, make money, be independent. And but the whole time while she was doing all of those things, she always found a way to connect it to food. Like when she was
Mm.
a security at the hospital, she'd be making pateles and like selling it on the side to all the other workers. Same thing at construction. She'd be at the construction site with her cooler filled with
Oh,
pateles
that
and
would,
she'd be selling
yeah.
it. And then,
That makes
like I
total
said,
sense.
yeah, when she's a firefighter, she's cooking for everybody. So all of these jobs, she would still find a way to connect it. And I meet people from those different stages in her life, and they always tell me like, "Oh, Shan always talked about how she wanted to have a food truck. That was her dream, like forever." So
Yeah.
it's really cool hearing that, and then seeing that she made it happen for herself too. Like she saved money from all those jobs, and she just bought herself a truck, and she just
Dang.
built out a truck. She figured it out. She got the book Food Truck for Dummies. Like she just figured it out on her own. And when I met her, that's she was already pretty established out in Whitmore Village. That's where she started her business. And yeah, when I met her, I was like, we could be bigger. Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna help you. We're gonna be bigger. And then boom, like it just got huge after that. So yeah, she's always just loved it. I'm super proud of her.
Did you ever see any of her fights, or was that the previous life before you met her?
It was before I met her. I didn't get to see it, but I see.
Oh wow.
If you Google her name, you can see pictures, and I think she has some footage and stuff. But yeah, all of those jobs she had finished. like she left those industries right before I met her. So
uh
and I think about it, like I remember in the beginning I was like, oh, I wish I could have seen that, but like I love her so much. Like those are really scary jobs to
yeah.
be having, you know. Like I told her, I don't know if I can handle seeing you get punched in the face. I might want to go up there and
Yeah, yeah.
handle it myself, you know.
Yeah.
And then same with firefighting. Like I can't imagine, like, you know, she's out there, she can't
Yeah,
even
you
have a
don't
cell
know.
phone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very dangerous. But so I got her at the right time where she can stay
Yeah.
home with me and cook.
Stress free. Yeah,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
worries.
Yeah.
Was okay, so let's have some fun with this. As much as you guys are obviously a perfect fit and you love each other, what do you think is I'm every couple has their thing. There's one thing that's like, oh, this always irritates me about the other. What would you say? She goes, oh, this is one thing that Chardonnay does. That, oh,
Oh, she lets me know. So
yeah, yeah.
Shan and I have very good communication because we always try to say, like, with our relationship, with our marriage, that we try to be each other's best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about loving a person in that capacity, it's a little easier to have the hard conversations because
Yeah.
like we're both just trying to be best friends to each other and take care of each other. Um, so she tells me, she's like, "Oh, I love you, honey. You're so perfect and you're so wonderful, but you can be very sassy sometimes." And and she'll say, like, "I could do with a little less sass from you." But it's funny though because I think she's the one who kind of helped me to come out of my shell and be sassy. So she's the one. She tells me, she's like, you know, when I first met you, you were like so sweet. There was no sass, and I wanted to encourage you to stand up for yourself, but not against me. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. So
What have I
definitely,
done?
yeah. She created a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely my sass, and then I think if you're to ask me about her, I tell her, "Oh, honey, sometimes you're just so grouchy," but I think that has to do with, you know, she is very protective of my energy, of her energy. So,
Mm,
and she works hard and she thinks about things realistically. You know, me, I'm over here like
you're a
energy
dreamer.
and love.
Yeah,
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 I'm just like
yeah.
woo woo woo, and you know, sometimes like she'll say something and I'll be like, "Bruh, you're killing my vibe," you know. But it's not so much that, it's just that she's trying to be realistic about things and give me other perspectives. But the way I say it to her, I'm like, gosh, she can be so grouchy sometimes, but that's just the word I use for it. So grouchy and sassy. But
Man, look, hearing about your relationship is like I'm looking in a mirror for me and my wife in our
oh yeah.
relationship. Yeah, she's
Who's the
the
sassy one?
logical. Mm. But
That's
mine is more like she's like, man, you're such a douche. Like, or you're so douchey. Like,
yeah, yeah.
just having fun.
Exactly.
But yeah, she's the logical one, and I'm the one like, oh, this is, could be great, and
Right, right.
we just gotta believe, and it's gonna happen. It's like,
Exactly. We just
no, you need a
manifest it.
plan. You need a
Right,
plan.
right.
We're, let's
We
make
need
an
the
Excel
money. We need,
spreadsheet.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
I have
Too
a feeling that
funny.
if we ever the four of us got together, it'd just be like this huge like session, like couples therapy session. Like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah, and they do this. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It'd be you and me over there dreaming up some new
Yeah,
idea, and the two of them being over there like, "Oh gosh, what now?"
yeah. We gotta
Yeah,
rein them in.
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
Well, I'm just like, so I knew that there was just like, just because now that that's understood that we're so similar, I knew there was like some kind of energy there, that we just like-minded energy kind of thing,
Mhm, mhm,
that just it clicked from the moment that we saw each other and started interacting. And what I've been really loving about this, you know, hour plus that we've gotten to know each other, is just like, it keeps coming back to all the things that you're involved with, all of your passions come back to this like deep seated desire for you to connect with people and to help people and stuff. And I just kind
mhm,
of wanted to circle back, and as we kind of wrap this up, and ask you where that comes from. Like,
mm,
can you pinpoint, like, because that, I mean, that's, it's really amazing, but not a lot of people can say that they have that, you know, in them, because it takes a
mhm,
lot of energy, and it's tough. But it seems like you've really committed your life in everything that you do to kind of go back to that core of just really helping people and caring for people. So I was curious where that comes from, and are you able to kind of pinpoint like, oh, this is where that was born out of?
That's such an interesting question. It's hard to, I don't know. When you were saying that, like I had some memories like flash in my head.
Oh,
So
really?
those must be the things, right? Like
Yeah.
I remember when I was really young, my grandma would take me with her to her alumni meetings. I'm a third generation graduate from St. Francis School in Manoa. So my
Okay.
grandma was part of the alumni association, and the bond she had with her classmates, she had graduated in class of 61, and I remember, I was born in 91. So from when I was young, seeing all these ladies get together and help to run this school that they loved, a place where they were
Yeah.
able to bond, and they're still connected to it. And that school has since shut down.
Hmm.
But I have that vivid memories of just being in the office with them, and they gave me a notepad and pen to just mind my business in the corner. But I'd be really listening to all these ladies, and they would be cackling and laughing and having the time of their lives, all while being like these total boss babes and helping to keep this school running, and
Mm.
create scholarships for the next girls. And I think from there I learned a lot about my purpose. And I like, now that I'm talking about it, it's like, yeah, that's like all the things I'm trying to do. Like
Yeah.
I still have a really close bond with my classmates, and I'm trying to surround myself with women in the industry, and I'm trying to help the next generation, and maybe prevent some struggles for the next generation that I might have experienced. Like, so I think definitely from that, watching my grandma do her meetings and stuff. And I think, when it came to, so I have like this life model, because this is another memory that popped into my head. In college, I remember I had a friend whose papa used to tell her all the time, be somebody. That
Mm.
was like his thing. He would tell her, hey, be somebody. So much that when he passed away, she got it tattooed on her. And I was like, I like that. Like that's something to live by. And then I was like, I need something to live by like that. So I remember I took that, but then I extended it. So like I have this life motto that I created in college for myself, that is, be somebody and do good things for my people and my land.
Mm.
And so that was like 2010, I think I wrote that out. And then just from there, I don't know. I guess I live by it. I just try to stay connected to it, and it's kind of crazy that it's not like a trying. It kind of just, that's what happened. I wrote it out,
Yeah.
and then look at my life, like how all these things just
Hmm.
happened. And then I think, um, by having that statement, it can also help to just keep me focused. Like in business school,
Yeah.
they teach you about mission goals and mission statements, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
every issue that comes up in a company, you need to revert back to the mission statement or the
Yeah.
goals, and that is where you're going to find the answer to whatever issues you're coming with. So I think that's what I did, is like I just have this thing, and anytime I'm having to make a decision or come up with a theme for a music video, or what am I going to write about next, I always try to make sure that it ties back into that. And everything in my life, it just has to tie back to that. And that really helps to keep me focused. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind
And
of like
I just love it.
your compass. Yeah, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you can just revert to it and go, "Oh, that's the direction.
Yeah,
I this is the
exactly.
path that I set, and I
Yeah.
know where to go."
Yeah.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
for business, because I've grown up in family businesses, and then I went on to pursue businesses of my own. That was the
Mm-hmm.
hardest thing for me to do, is like come up with the mission and all
Yeah.
that stuff, like because like how you described, like I'm a dreamer too, like I just like I want to do, my mission is
Everything.
everything. Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
and that's why I kind of just stayed in one place, like how come our business isn't growing? It's like I have no direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, of
I
course.
just, this whole conversation has been just so um so lovely for me to really see, like, I feel like you just were so open and free to let us into your heart, and it's a beautiful place, and if I could,
Thank
I just
you.
stay there all the time because
I'll
it's
keep it right here.
amazing in there. Yeah, yeah.
Ah. Thank
But
you.
man, I'm super excited for, you know, the things that you're doing now, and then of course with the things to come. What are some ways that people can stay connected with you? Are there any events or things that are coming up that you would want to promote so that you know, we can continue to support you and support your wife and your family? Yeah, if you could share a little bit about, you know, what's you got going on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, right now I'm kind of turning into a little bit of a hermit because I'm going to be focusing on writing more music.
Okay.
I'm trying to get those features, you know, trying to work
Yeah,
with everybody.
yeah.
But definitely just through social media, I am super active on my Instagram. I run my own account, so I post on my story every day. It's a place where my supporters can message me and I respond. It's a place where I've made really good friends and can connect with people. So definitely my Instagram is at chardonnay.music. Um, yeah, and just by following that, I always post up all the different things that I have going on. I'll even post Kapakahi grind stuff on there too, so people
Oh, nice.
can stay updated. But if they like, they can follow Kapakahi Grinds. It's just at Kapakahi Grinds with a Z.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and that's my wife's page. So she'll post even when she's just making dinner. Like if it's a fun thing, she'll post that
Yeah.
on her story so you can see all her food and stuff. But yeah, you can follow both of us and then just check us out at the next event that we'll be at.
Do you have any things like, as far as like events that you guys are going to be catering coming up soon, that people, that's open to the public?
Not right now. We've been doing more private events. We did because summer just ended, so that's usually when we're all out and about everywhere. But
Yeah.
right now, it's been more private catering events. So um, yeah, we'll just have to keep everybody
Okay.
posted. Even for gigs, like I'm doing a lot of like private parties right now. But as soon as those things, because they will definitely come rolling in. Like the way that
Yeah.
these industries work is sometimes it's very last minute. So like the fastest way for me to get the info out is through Instagram. So I'll definitely post on there when we'll be out
Okay.
and about.
Well, we'll put the links to your pages and stuff in the show notes and the descriptions too.
Cool.
So anyone listening doesn't remember what she just said, I'll have the links there.
Thank
But
you.
I have one last question, because
Mm-hmm.
as you mentioned, like, you're doing a lot of private gigs and stuff, that sparked another question that I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to not to ask you. Have you, what is the weirdest gig that you've ever performed at?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I can't think of one. Wait.
But there have been, right? Like, that you, have there been like weird ones or awkward ones or strange settings or something that you had to perform at?
Gosh. Mm, yeah. I don't know if I want to talk about that one. Let me think about another one.
Okay.
I
we could
think
we could preserve the identities. We'll change the names in the
I know, right?
places.
We could call it something else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, nah, I've been pretty blessed with all the gigs. And like I said too, like having all my friends with me, it's like no matter what, we're gonna make a good time out of it. I think may I don't know, yeah, that's tough. Yeah, they've all been pretty good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they've all been
Well,
pretty good.
well, I'm happy. Although, if you ever
Thanks.
do decide to tell me about that one that
The
will
other
not be named,
one.
then I'll I'll look forward to that. But we'll save that for off the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
air. Oh, Chardonnay, this has been so awesome. Thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with me tonight. This was really, really great. Now, I'm stoked that we've connected, and I hope we can continue our friendship moving forward, and so I can stay connected with you in your career, and watch you grow into the big superstar that you're destined to become.
Oh, thank you so much. This is so fun. Like I said, I love doing interviews, and this is one of my favorites because it's just
Oh,
so like,
thanks.
yeah, it's so cool. Talk story, and I love that I met you as understanding that you're like a game host,
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
like, we got like interviews and stuff too. Like it's really cool learning about all the things that you're doing, and I'm excited to learn more about like what your goals are so that I can help be a part of that too. Like I love helping friends out so that we can like grow together, because that's what
Oh,
makes
that's
it super
awesome.
fun. Yeah, so this
Yeah.
was great. Thank you for everything.
All right. Well, we'll hang out again soon. But in the
Mhm.
meantime, have a great rest of your night and we'll talk later.
Yeah, thank you.